Okay, welcome everybody to the June 21st OpenJS Foundation board meeting. This is the public session. Todd, would you like to call the meeting to order?
Yeah, we have a quorum, so let's call the meeting to order.
Great. All right, well, welcome everybody. The big news for today is that we have a new director on the board. Earlier this week in the CPC meeting, Chris Borchers was confirmed as the CPC, the first CPC director. If you've been following the creation of the charter for the CPC and the bylaws of the OpenJS Foundation, there are going to be two directors from the CPC, and the election is in process right now for who that second person would be. So we're looking forward to the next board meeting when we'll be able to welcome the second CPC director. The meeting schedule for 2019 is up here. This is a change from what we've shown in the past. We're moving from the third Friday of the month to the fourth Friday of the month, with the obvious changes as necessary for U.S. holidays at the end of the year. Our time is still the same. We'll be meeting at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Pacific Time, unless there's some particular reason to reschedule. The agenda today, we will be approving the meeting minutes. We will have a discussion about some updates to the CPC charter. These are some minor updates. I'll give an update on where we are with the event, NodeJS Interactive. I'll give a brief update on where we are in the transition and the merger between the organizations. Chris Borchers will give his very first CPC update, and Rachel Roma from the Linux Foundation will give a marketing update. Does anybody have anything to add to the agenda? Okay, moving on. First item of business is to approve the board meeting minutes from May 24th. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a motion to accept the minutes?
So motioned.
Great, thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstains?
I abstain.
Thank you. Okay, the motion carries. All right, so the first topic of business here is the changes to the CPC charter. There are two pull requests right now. Chris, Miles, would either of you like to say something about these?
I mean, I can just, I think you covered the exact changes. There's in 201, it's literally just making a heading, one of the section headings, an actual heading in Markdown. And then in pull request 203, it's fixing a couple of misspelled words, and there's some excess white space at the end of lines, things like that. It's all formatting and typos.
Okay. Board, do we have any discussion or any concerns with these changes? Okay. In that case, I'd like to open this up for a vote to accept these changes. Would somebody like to make a motion to accept these two changes?
Yeah, motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, great. All in favor?
Aye.
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 We have a few others. Do we have any opposed? Do we have any abstains? Okay, motion carries. Okay, next we have an update on the event. Coming up in December, we have NodeJS Interactive 2019. The CFP is open for just a few more hours. So if you have a talk that is in progress or that you are waiting to submit for any reason, please get in and do it. We've had quite a good number of talks come in. We're looking forward to having a good, solid program here. We've been working with the community to put together the program committee, who are going to be reviewing the talks. And again, we have some good, robust participation there. And we are hoping to get notifications out for the CFP results by the end of July. We should then hopefully have the schedule out the week after that, the week of August 5th. So again, please, if you are interested in submitting a talk, this is your last chance to do so. And at the same time, if you are interested in sponsoring, we'd like to hear from you. The sponsorship prospectus is up online. You can also get it by sending an email to me, bwarner@linuxfoundation.org. And we'd like to thank our initial sponsors so far. We have Red Hat, Sentry, and Linode, with a couple others that are in progress. So looking forward to this event. Does anybody have any questions about this event? All right, I guess we can move on. Okay, an update on where we are in the transition. We are, as I've mentioned in previous calls, there is a fair amount of back-end work that goes into merging two foundations. In this case, we have been, started off by working with the members to get all the members transitioned over from the two organizations, so that we are now in one single merged organization. We've been making updates on the website and getting things put together. CPC is now fully up and running. There's now a chair of the CPC, Joe Seppi, and we have changed the meeting time of the CPC to 12 Eastern on Wednesdays. And there is a calendar available that has CPC meetings as well as the invites. You can also go to the README file in the CPC repo on GitHub. And at this point, really, a lot of the discussion has been around refining processes and documentation, and it's all, from my perspective, it's been running very smoothly, which is great. Internally, there's still some consolidation work that's going on. Some consolidation work that's going on the operations side. We're also having some discussions on things like marketing resources and what's available for the various projects going forward. And we should hopefully have some more information on that in the next month or so. Do we have any questions about any of this in the transition? Okay, guess we'll move on. CPC update. Chris, as our new CPC Director, we'll turn this over to you.
Probably helps if I unmute. Thanks. Yeah, so as Brian mentioned, I was recently elected as the director. We also elected a chair, which is Joe Seppi. So congratulations, Joe. As far as updates, these were the things. So in finding out about this meeting on Wednesday, these were the things that were top of mind that I pulled in, but Miles or Tracy or anyone else, please feel free to jump in and add any items that I may have left out that are pressing. I did make some updates to these slides as well, Brian, after you started. So as far as drafting the election process for voting members of non-impact projects, for those that weren't aware, myself and a few others that were representing non-impact projects that were nominated, the election process was not defined. And so what we had decided to do was allow all of those nominations to join as voting members. And then once a process has been defined, we would follow that process going forward. And so there's the issue discussing the need for that. And then I added a link, Brian. There is a pull request now with a draft that was added yesterday of that voting process that is being discussed. Similarly, there is within the charter an idea of regular members. So these are in effect observers that are active in a particular project for a particular amount of time. And what is actually being drafted now is validating that qualification, their activity within Foundation projects. And so we've started accepting pull requests for people to add themselves as regular members. And once that qualification process is finished, then it will be used to add them. Any questions on any of those items, or like I said, Miles, anything you would add?
Nothing that I can think of for right now. I guess like one thing that's worth bringing up, and apologies if it already was, we ended up having more voting members than originally in the charter. But I believe that we discussed this already, just because there were a bunch of people who wanted to be involved, and we wanted to empower people to be involved and get stuff done. Although it is very clear, and it's been documented, that that will not be the case for future iterations.
Correct, yeah. So yeah, I should have been clearer on that. When it comes to the voting members, when we allowed those nominees from the impact projects to all become voting members temporarily, that did push us over the number that we were supposed to have. But once that election process is completed, we'll have a plan to move forward and correct that. Any other questions? Okay, then moving on, the one thing that was requested, which I know, Brian, you're already working on in that issue, there was a question they asked me to bring to the board, which was if there would be a collab summit at the event in Montreal. My understanding from that issue is that the space has been allocated, and so I think you were, Brian, I think you were confirming location and things like that, but beyond that, we will, my understanding is there will be a collab summit, and we should start planning that.
Yep, that's correct. And I haven't responded on the issue yet, but the information that I have here is that we do have 1.5 days worth of rooms. There are 3 rooms total. And there are, well, let's see here. We'll be reusing the room from the Code and Learn. There will be 2 rooms that hold at least 70 people in addition. And then on the second day, there's 1 room that'll hold 240, and then 2 other rooms that'll hold at least 70. So we'll have plenty of space here for the Collaboration Summit.
Yeah, and my experience here is that the sooner we can connect the LF events team that's running the conference with the folks who are organizing Collab Summit for this fall, the better.
I will take care of that right after this call.
Thanks.
All right, I think that's it from CPC, unless there's other questions.
Okay, great. All right, next topic on the agenda is the marketing update. Rachel, would you like to take us through the marketing update?
Sounds good. So just to reiterate what Brian has already shared with us, the CFP is closing today, June 21st, and he is correct. It probably will stay open over the weekend, but make sure that you get those submissions in as soon as possible. Next slide, please. So a quick summary on our content and thought leadership initiatives. I wanted to point out 2 things specifically. One, we've been seeing a dip in our Node blog, and that can be attributed to, we had a couple of really big exciting things come out over the past 2 months, and we're just kind of seeing a return back to what we typically see. So nothing to be alarmed there. And then over to the mentorship working group, we saw some really great traction there. And we also got some great feedback from that, the mentorship working group, that many of the applicants to be mentees actually came through that blog. So we're going to continue to follow that journey and continue to provide some updates to the community around the mentorship program and what kind of things that they're working on and doing. So that's all good stuff. There are no questions here. We can go to the next slide. Okay. And here is a social media update for OpenJS Foundation. We're seeing some pretty solid traction both on Twitter and YouTube. Again, we're still in relatively early days of having these channels up and running. But, again, we're definitely seeing a pretty good uptake. If there are no questions here, we can go to the next slide. And then here's just a summary for the Node.js project. Seeing relatively good growth across all the channels. I'm pretty happy with the LinkedIn follower growth. I think that's great to see. Typically, Twitter has been our primary channel, but it's great to see, that we've got some followers, over on LinkedIn as well. I did want to point out for YouTube, for the playlist strategy that we've been using, while we are still down, we're not as down as we typically have been. So we're going to keep pushing that and see if we can continue to drive folks over to the YouTube channel. And I think that does it for the marketing update. Are there any questions? Great.
Okay, great. Thank you, Rachel. Okay, that's the end of our regular agenda here. Do we have any questions or any additional topics of discussion? I'm told that there's a question about travel expenses for Node+JS Interactive, and my understanding is that would be covered out of the normal travel fund. So this came in on Twitter, and if there are any issues with the CFP site, please reach out to us right away. We want to make sure that you have the opportunity to get your CFP in, and we will work with you if you're running into any issues with getting that done.
Brian, a quick clarification on the question that was asked. It was not for collaborators. It was specifically if we are offering funds to help speakers come.
That's a good question. I believe that is something the board would discuss as part of the budget discussion, which we can get back on with a solid answer on that.
Okay, great.
Yep. Okay. Any other discussions or any other topics of conversation here? All right, very good. With that, I believe we can probably call this meeting to a close.
Okay, well, very good. Thank you all for tuning in and joining, and thank you all board members for coming again and participating. And thank you, Brian and staff, for the work you've put in. We call the meeting of the OpenJS Foundation closed.